Live.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for being with us today. I see we have got a lot of people on the webinar, and I'd like to welcome you all and say thank you for spending your time with us for the next hour. We are very excited that we've got two of our alumni who are with us today to share their experiences with us. We've got Henrik Johnson, who is in the hospitality industry, and we're going to hear a little bit more about what he's been doing, what he is doing, and how his MBA has helped him. And then we've got Vishal Tilak, who is an entrepreneur. He's running 3 different companies, and we're going to hear a little bit about Vishal and his journey and what he's been doing with the learnings that he's got from the MBA. So thank you both for being here today. I know. What time is it, Henrik? We're in South Korea.
It's 10 past 6.
10 past 6. Okay.
Sorry, so 5 past 6. 5 past 6.
Well, as long as it's not 10 past 10 or something.
No, not yet. Not yet. Yeah. It's coming.
Not yet. But thank you so much for being with us. And Vishal as well. I know you've been all around, up and down Africa at the moment. I don't know where you were when we chatted last.
No, thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you for making the time to be with us and to share your experiences with people who are interested in doing their studies with us, because I think from our perspective, you've gone through the qualifications, you've basically got getting the t-shirts, and from our point of view, you are the ambassadors for us in terms of what you are doing and how innovative and dynamic you both are. So thank you very much.
No whatsoever with that introduction.
Please, and also please excuse my nice croaky voice. I'm hoping it sounds really, really cool. So, and if I start coughing, I'll just you'll just have to talk, okay? Because you can do that. Because
no problem.
Yeah, you're fine with it. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about what Milpark stands for, what is our reason for waking up in the morning, and really we want to keep creating ethical leaders. We know that there is a leadership crisis worldwide, and I think we can all attest to that. So we really do need to keep making sure that we've got ethical, strong leaders that are in business, are in social ventures, are entrepreneurs, and that's what we want to do. From our point of view, the student is really the most important part of what we do, because you have chosen to come to Milpark, and hopefully the process and the journey that people go through, they find that they get knowledge that they can apply and really practice being good citizens, ethical business people. With all the myriad of challenges that we're having in the world at the moment, I think it's very important for people to have good standing, to know what they want. And I think from going through this MBA and postgrad, it's in a way a personal journey, even though it's often for a career, you're wanting to find out more about entrepreneurial activities and how to be successful, like Vishal is. Henrik's also done that with a consultancy. But I think to have an overall view of business, of what needs to happen from a governance point of view, an ethical point of view, is important, because we don't know what we don't know. So our part is to try and open your minds, and I hope that did happen with both of you. I think it's an important thing to start as one person and to come out the other side, if I can put it that way, having grown and changed, and your views have changed, and that's what we like to see, the change in our students and the success that emanates from there. One of our values as Milpark is care, and I think another part of our focus being on the students is that we do care for our students. We want our students to be successful. There's not one instance where we do not want a student to be successful, because you are our legacy, and that's what we want to do. We want to give you the tools, the attributes, whatever is necessary, from technical skills to what I call power skills, which is people call them soft skills. I don't know why they're soft skills, because they're really hard to do. But your leadership, your emotional intelligence, your resilience, and I think that's part of the process when you go through these qualifications, that you build resilience and grit, and because it's not easy. It's not easy. Another element that we build our vision on is phronesis, which is practical wisdom, and we need to take account of that. It's looking at we base a lot of what we do on theory, but it needs to work in practice. And so we look at a practical wisdom approach from how our curriculum is developed, designed, what our assessments are like, because that's what we want you to do, to have those tools that you can make sound, wise decisions in the moment, that you've got all those perspectives. And that's really what we stand for, to empower students and our communities around us, because as you all graduate and you go into the communities globally, locally, you make a difference wherever you go, and that is what we're about. So I think that's what we stand for. We do have a great team. We have a smallish team that is full-time, and I know it looks very small, but it's not actually, because we have a nice core adjunct faculty who are our lecturers and facilitators, and those are the people who work with you on a one-to-one basis, who guide you, who facilitate the knowledge. And we'll chat about this a little bit later. It's not recall that we want. Our facilitators don't teach you, because as adult learners, you already have so much experience and knowledge. Why would they teach you? You need to construct the knowledge for yourselves so that you can apply it in the context that you need to apply it in. So even though we don't have a picture, and I think we need to do that, of all of our adjunct faculty, we've got a lot of backing behind the full-time team. But in our full-time team, we've got the Dean, Dr. Oosthuizen, we've got Dr. Herbst, who's the head of research, we've got our senior lecturers, Nazmira, Thea, Jamela, Stanton, and we've got our program managers who I think you'll agree they are the pivotal in student success. Those are the people that you talk to often, you email, you phone. They're there for you on an ongoing basis, and that I think is part of. They get up to make sure every day to make sure that their students are fine, that they're looked after, and that they can again grow and be successful. So that's our picture of the core team that is around. So I'm going to quickly talk about what is unique about our program. Why would I encourage people to do it? And when we look at our postgrad and our MBA, in 3 years, you can have 2 postgraduate qualifications. That's the way we've designed it now, so that there are overlap modules, and it leads you into the MBA, and you can articulate. We want it to be practical, so there's an immediate application in your work environment. The assessments that are part and parcel of the program are practical. You need to be able to apply the theory, because theory is useless unless it's used, unless you can otherwise we may as well throw it out the window. So that's what we want to happen. We want you to make a positive contribution to society from the get-go, from the day you start with your studies. And whether you are in your own business and you are studying, you can straight away make sure that you're applying the learnings, or whether you are working in a corporate or an NGO, take whatever you're learning there and then and start integrating it into your work to make a difference. Because that's what we want to see our students, and I think you want to see that employers and society want to see people of your caliber making that impact in the societies where you are. So we have an integrated curriculum. It's got your technical skills and it's got soft skills. And the soft skills, I think you'll, Henrik and Tilak, you'll both agree, it's kind of embedded. That emotional intelligence, that resilience, it's the way you have to manage your studies, and the way when you're tired and you've got an assignment for the next day, you can't just blow up at your friend or your colleague who actually hasn't done the work he should have done or she should have done. And you've got to mediate that, and that's part and parcel of getting through the studies. We want you to have a voice. We want you to have quality scholarship that responds to management needs. So the decisions and the reasoning that you give needs to be based on something solid, that your research, and we have a strong emphasis on research. Why is research so important? Because you need to have the backup data to make the right decisions. And that's why research is so important to us and to our students. So research is not research for fun, just because of doing research. It's got a very practical component that we need. Your voices should be based on theory, but it is your voice. And that is very important coming through, that it's your voice based on the people that have built theories. And obviously you make it context specific. There are complex issues you need to analyze. You need to look at different perspectives, see how people in different countries apply certain things, the way of life, what they do in different regions. And so it's also quite a high level of analysis and evaluation, and then creativity and development, which is part and parcel of what we do throughout the qualifications that you do. Excuse me. We also want to develop and implement responsibilities in terms of the individual. Accountability. Businesses also need to be accountable to our communities and to our environment. And I think you'll agree that the environment is a very important thing that we are aware of, especially these days, that we need to start making sure we take care of. And that is another element that we do, is to contribute to the development of initiatives that support communities and our environment. We also like to think that we promote your personal, interpersonal, and professional skills, because it gives you a sense of, why are you doing this grueling program? You wouldn't just do it for the paper. It's a personal growth journey, and it's an interpersonal. You start to learn how to deal with different people that you might not like, but you got to work with, and that's a work environment. So you need to learn how to do that and be professional about that. How do you actually not take someone's head off? You need to learn how to do that, and to know your emotions and how you're feeling, so that you can act appropriately or behave appropriately. We also look at, we want you to be creative, to have imaginative solutions to different challenges, but they need to be credible. So we can all have wonderful flights of fantasy, but then it comes down to, how do you actually build your business? How are you going to do that? And then thereafter, we also make sure that student well-being is a very important part of what we want to make sure that our students as a whole are managing, that they are coping, and so that they can be successful. And we have seen, especially in the last few years with this pandemic, the students are battling a bit. And I think, but we all are battling. And so that comes to the fore with, talking to your peers, talking to the program managers to resolve problems and just to be connected and have belonging. So that's what we try to make sure happens in the program. We also have partnered with Capitec, and that's on our website. So if anybody wants to find out a bit more about that, we have partnered with them because they feel and we feel that you need to be able to invest in yourself. It's not everybody who's got the money up front to pay for these qualifications. And so we do need partnerships and people who believe in the qualifications and believe that the students coming through that will make a difference. So we have partnered with Capitec, and as I said, you can speak to our student advisors on how to sort out in terms of being helped with a loan or what you can do. But now I'm going to keep quiet. I'm going to introduce Henrik and Tilak. First of all, I'll introduce Henrik, and then I'll introduce Tilak, and then we're going to just have a conversation basically on so that everybody here today can hear your experiences of what you've accomplished. So Henrik has worked in the hospitality industry, and I think that is an amazing thing to do because it is not an easy industry at all to be in. He has been a chef, he's been a manager, he's been an owner, he's been a consultant and an educator since 1995. So that's a long journey, a lot of experience. In 2014, while he was an executive chef in Johannesburg, he completed his MBA with Milpark Business School. And he continued to work in the culinary sphere, and it launched him into hospitality management, education, leading to the creation of his own consultancy, where he helps startups and restaurants that are struggling around the world. So it's not just in South Africa, it's worldwide. So I think that's fantastic. Currently, he lectures at Woosung University in South Korea, and he helps students gain knowledge, understanding of the intricacies of the culinary and hospitality industry. And I think, when we think of that industry, it sounds very glamorous. It is, I think it is, because you make people happy all the time with what you do and the creativity that comes out of that. But we'd like to also, we'll chat a little bit further, Henrik, just to see the challenges that you face in that industry, because I think there are lots of challenges, but there are lots of gains, and otherwise you wouldn't be in the industry at all.
Yeah,
so we'll chat to Henrik just now. And then Tilak, we always call you Tilak and not Vishal. He is currently, he's overseeing 3 businesses. So I find this quite something. One is Everpro, which is a dialysis consumables business. Then he moves to I.IT, which is IT management, consulting and development. And then Connect to Pfizer. You're going to have to explain what that is to us, because I'm not quite sure I understand exactly what it is, because it sounds very complex to me. He has been in corporate SA for over 17 years, so he's paid his dues in multiple industries. He has got a civil engineering and economics background, which is always very handy, and then his Milpark MBA. He is passionate, and I like this idea, passionate about responsible capitalism, value innovation and disruption within reason. We'll have to chat about that as well. What is within reason? Yeah. And 4 years ago, he's left corporate South Africa to their own devices in a way, and has started to launch disruptive solutions and products. So thank you so much, Tilak, for also being with us. And we're going to delve a little bit more into what your businesses entail and all of and those kind of things. So I'm going to try and stop talking now, but I do need to ask you some questions. So I'm going to start with Henrik. Why did you choose Milpark?
Well, simply put, it was available, and it was in the time that I had available, because I did the full-time evening classes. So I worked my day job as a chef, and then I went to Milpark in the evenings. It was a tough 2 years, not only on me but on my family also, because basically every waking moment that I wasn't at work, I was studying or at Milpark. And that suited me well. The other reason was because my educational background up until then was I only had a diploma from my culinary studies, and obviously years of experience, but I didn't have any formal other educational qualification. And Milpark said, well, based on speaking to you and everything considered, they said, no, that's fine. We'll accept you and let's see what happens. And it turned out it went quite well.
Indeed.
So yeah, so it really helped, and I must say it was a great experience, and I highly recommend it for anybody.
Great to hear. Tilak, why Milpark?
I tend to agree with Henrik with regards to it was accommodating to us, especially in the evenings.
Yeah.
I think both of us started with hair on our heads, and then towards the end of the 2 years, we kind of lost it. Hence, we are where we are.
Yeah.
Apart from that, the content was quite good, course content. The team was excellent in explaining to us. And it wasn't just about, as you mentioned, come and get a degree, or this is just another one of your tick boxes. When I remember engaging with the team, they explained, but what do you want to get out of it? And when I was interviewing a lot of the other institutions, no one actually asked me that question. And for me, that was the differentiating factor. Was they said, but why are you doing it? Are you doing it for the sake of it? Or what do you want to get out of it? Because we don't want you to come here and spend 2 years of your life at the cost and risk of losing your family or spouses, and then you feel that you were robbed of what your expectations were. So I think that was one of the critical factors for me, and especially the evening classes. It worked, it helped, it accommodated my day job and our, as Henrik said, our day hustles. So that was the primary reason as well.
So that flexibility.
No, it was flexibility and care. I mean, I've done all these other courses through Gibbs and not just naming and shaming, but no one actually asked you the critical question of why. You guys were the first ones that said, but what do you want to get out of it? And it made me think and say, but why am I doing it as well? So it was very good.
Well, that's good to know.
Very good.
Tell me, Tilak, what skills do you think the MBA gave you?
Time management. Was the most. I had a version of it versus what it took me through, because it taught me also that you can juggle multiple stuff. Obviously, you assume you're multitasking, but it actually taught me to be effective first before efficient. And I remember one of the lecturers telling me that you can be efficient, but you can be efficient in doing nothing. Primary focus is become effective first before you become efficient. It taught me structure. So again, time management, structure works hand in hand. But it also taught me how to conceptualize an idea. And when you focused on ideas and research, but to pressure test it internally with my internal voice prior to me going out and saying, hey, this is phenomenal, this is awesome. So it's not just one soundboard, it's multiple soundboards.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah, good.
Henrik, and your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Vishal says, but for me, I think the biggest thing that it gave me was confidence, more than anything else. I felt, to be honest, a little bit intimidated when I first started, because everybody had some kind of a degree before they came to Milpark, and I think I was probably the only one in my year that didn't. And it's a little bit intimidating when you're in a room full of successful bankers and lawyers and other people, and in walks the chef. I mean, I knew what I knew, and I knew that I had abilities. I just wasn't confident in a more business environment. With amongst my peers in the culinary world, not a problem. But you're always a little bit, So I think the confidence that it gave me in understand, and also obviously the understanding of how and why things are the way they are, and things work, and I think it helped a lot. But confidence was definitely my biggest win from Milpark.
Oh, that's excellent. And further to that, what is the impact and the value that the MBA has given to your life and your career?
Well, I think the confidence helped, but obviously having having a piece of paper that says you know how to do these things, even though you know that you know how to do these things, also helped a lot, because I wouldn't be able to teach in a university without a master's qualification. Now, teaching is something that I am passionate about, and it's sharing all the knowledge that I've gathered over the years from the different things that I've done with the people that are starting off, and trying to help them start from a higher point than I had to. And I think that's been huge for me, because it helped me help so many other people, I think. At least I hope so. Yeah, you never know, but yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic that it's kind of had a ripple effect, that you've what you've learned, you also.
Yeah, and I've been able to share, now I don't just teach cooking anymore. I teach management courses and all kinds of stuff. And obviously the more I teach, the more I learn, and it's become a bit of a snowball. So now, like just before we did this, I finished class like an hour ago. We were talking about the food systems and the impact of global events on your local food system. And obviously the discussions way back when in my Milpark days, some of it comes to mind, and you're like, oh wow, I remember talking about things like this with professors and with people in my study group and people in class, and talking about all these kinds of things, and it's helped a lot over the years, and especially now teaching. So yeah, it's been great.
That's great.
From my side, I think I kind of agree with Henrik as well around the confidence part. But because I've been in corporate for so long, unfortunately, you had to cut your teeth very early, and I was in financial services for almost a decade. So apologies if I was one of those other guys in that room with you, Henrik.
No, that's okay. No, that's fine.
But for me, because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, as we call it, you have a bunch of ideas in your head, and I always use this analogy when I describe what I learned from my MBA, is that it helps you take chaos and make it organized chaos.
Yes.
So all of us have ideas which are brilliant. It's fantastic, but it helps you structure it and connect that silver thread between them all, whether albeit finance, marketing, or risk assessment, as an example. And especially in the last year when you have to do your presentation, it also helps you understand how to articulate your sales point. And something passionate about is when I coach and help other guys that are trying to be in business or even in corporate, is that whole elevator pitch. We all have a story, but it's about trying to make it succinct and pertinent to your audience. Because my elevator pitch could be totally different to Henrik's, as an example. And I mean, we all come from corporate backgrounds, academia as well, and we all have this knowledge. What the MBA for me did was it helped you articulate it much more effectively, and also control your thoughts, your actions, and something that you could have taken 10 years to do to accomplish. This helped me now escalate it to 4 years. So it brought forward opportunities. So that's what I took out of it.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, with my consulting business, being able to pitch to people, and like you say, the elevator pitch, it's like, well, this is what I can do for you. Do you need my help or not? And I think that's the confidence comes in there also, but also knowing that the knowledge that I gained from Milpark will help me help other people. And I think that's been invaluable.
And the lectures were phenomenal in that support. I'll never forget Dr. Govender, I mean, he's very focused on responsibility, taking care of the environment, nature, life itself. And one thing I did enjoy about Milpark was that if we have an idea and you're brainstorming, it went back to not just your primary faculty, it's the network within Milpark. And a few ideas, because when I started off there, I think I had about 20, 30 ideas I wanted to launch, but it helped me succinct it to at least 4 or 5. But of that 4 or 5, Milpark lectures actually put us in contact with individuals in those industries and said, use them as a soundboard, brainstorm the idea, try and take this and make it much more concrete as an example. So that's what I really enjoyed about it. It wasn't just the theory and the practical, but you actually engage with people to show you how.
Yeah, and that makes and from a life point of view, how's it impacted your lives?
So my wife said my primary wife ended up being Milpark for that period of time. So
Yeah, same.
Same with Henrik.
Yeah.
The dog barked at you when you got home on the weekends. So
yeah, the kids were confused. Yeah.
Yeah, like who's this guy
like,
now?
Who's this? Yeah, where's he been? Who's that?
Personally, it helped me launch my so-called entrepreneurship or personal businesses. It gave me the confidence to do it, and with risk, what's the best way to word it? Calculated risk, not just risk with a leap of faith. It taught me to take calculated risks and get the right timing for these businesses. So it was invaluable. I still take it wherever I go. People always ask me would I do it again, and I said not the 2 years, but yes, if I could find another way to do it, I would.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think for me, I mean, in terms of my life, it's helped me grow into doing something that I really, really enjoy. And even my wife says, you know, helping people is something that you've always enjoyed. I used to do it as a chef in the kitchen, you know, making sure that people understood why we did something, so the why behind the what, and then being able to help them, you know, grow their careers and get further and further. And I think that's something I learned at Milpark was that, you know, you need to understand things why. I remember, I'll never forget, it's like the one question that everybody, you know, whenever you're asked a question, your first response is, well, it depends. And that's true, because it depends on so many different variables in terms of any question that you ask. And it's allowed me also in the consulting business to be able to better understand what people want by asking the right questions, and not just saying, yeah, sure, I'll help you. So there's been times where I've had to turn people down because it's not what I do. So yeah, that's helped a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that you've pointed out here is the ability to ask the right questions, because I think that is so important to be able to distill things, to actually start asking the right questions. What is your advice to somebody, and we've got people here who are considering embarking on this arduous journey? What is your advice to them? What would you say to them? Either one, Henrik or Vishal.
I would say it's, you know, make sure that you speak to, you know, if you're married then or have a partner, then make sure you speak to them first, because don't just show up and say, oh, I signed up to do this thing, so I'll see you in 2 years. No, that's not a popular way to do it. So that would be my first thing to tell people. Other than that is be ready for hard work, because it is a lot of work, but it's also rewarding, because, you know, the people you meet and the things you learn and the things you learn to understand. But yeah, no, definitely be ready for the work. Yeah.
No, I agree with Henrik. I was one of those guys who had the discussion after registering. So yeah, don't do that again. I'm a poster child for that. And apart from the hard work, I think it's fantastic. It's very stimulating. That's what Henrik actually mentioned, the conversations in class. It stimulates, and it just doesn't help you in class. It helps you back in business where your day job is. And if you're considering your side hustle, which I think everyone has after this last years, it also helps you frame things differently. Yeah. It's also not about asking questions to the external voice. It's asking yourself, not giving yourself that false sense of security. And sometimes something so obvious can actually just push you into the right path. and you get a lot of ideas. I mean, most of the businesses I picked up listening to the pain points in during our conversations in class. So that's what helped me launch a few of my ideas.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that is interesting to know. And your support structures, what did you have in place or put in place or eventually put in place?
At Milpark, the support structure, in my personal view, was phenomenal. I had a health scare in my second year, and the team was absolutely phenomenal in supporting me, especially our program manager, Evelyn. I mean, I have to mention her. She and Andres were absolutely amazing, including Corvus, the dean. At home, it's just about, as Henrik said, talk to your partner, mine is after the fact, and structured because your calendars are mapped out for the year. So you say, right, that's the family weekend. This is when my mother-in-law can come and visit. Oh no, I'm studying that weekend as an example.
Yeah.
So you can just map. It's a conversation. It's literally another work at home, and get ahead of yourself. The one thing I have to say is, and I think Henrik will agree, if you have an assignment or anything, do not wait for last minute. That small pile becomes a mountain before you know it, and that's what causes unnecessary strain or stress, either at work, home, or your personal self as well.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, get the work done as soon as you have time. And I tell my students here too. I mean, they're my students here in Korea are notorious for lastminute.com. And it's crazy because it's like everybody's panicking at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's trying to submit assignments and stuff, and I'm like, guys, you've had 3 weeks to do this. Why are you waiting till today? Oh, but we were busy. I was like, well, no, you weren't, because I know how your class schedule is. And for me it was important because I had a 9 to 5, for lack of a better term, and I had a family and I had other commitments. So it was very important to, whenever I had the time, to be able to finish those assignments quickly, because like Vishal says, a mountain, a molehill becomes a mountain very, very quickly. So yeah, don't delay.
Yeah. So I must say that is one of the things that I always bang on about to new students when we do induction is to, if your assignment is due for the 25th, you say in your calendar you're going to upload it on the 24th at least, because things happen.
Yeah. And it's the same discipline you take back into business. I mean, even if you're self-employed or corporate, you just get the task force as quick as you get it in. It's not about trying to show how efficient you are to the line managers or to whoever. It's about, you don't know what's going to happen next. Something more important is going to come about, or which requires more of your time. You're not going to be able to get to everything.
Yeah. No, of course. I agree 100%. The quicker you get it done, the more time you have to do what comes up, because there's always going to be something that comes up. And you never know, it could be, like you said, a health scare, or it could be a family issue, or it could be all kind of, any kind of stuff. And if you haven't done what you need to, and then all of a sudden you're pressed for time, and so yeah, just do it as quickly as you can. And it also gives you the opportunity to go back after, if you finish it in the first day and you've got 3 weeks to submit it, then don't just leave it and push send on the last minute. Go back and read it again, because maybe things have changed, and maybe you see something now that you didn't see, 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So yeah, it's always good to get it done as quickly as you can, or as soon as you can, actually.
Yeah, as soon as you can. Yeah, and I do like what you say, that you've done it and then go back, because you need to craft it. So if you've got it and you think, okay, I think this is kind of okay, then you've got breathing time before sending to make sure that it is like really what you want, up to your standard. But oftentimes also, as you say, things get in the way.
Life happens. Life happens. Yeah.
Life and COVID happens. Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. I must say, I mean, that for everybody. Henrik, tell us a bit from your perspective, how did COVID impact the industry and where you were at the time and all of that?
Well, I've been in Korea now. I've been stuck in Korea since it started. I mean, the last time I left Korea was 2020, February 2020, I think. And it's not that I've been able to leave. It's not a problem, but the issue has been coming back. They wouldn't let foreigners in. and since I had a job and nowhere else to be at the moment, we decided no, it's best to stay put. Because we had classes. I mean, I haven't stopped teaching. It's been normal. It's just everything's been online. So I go to the office. The students aren't allowed on campus, but we were in the office, and we would do Zoom classes and whatever we could. Obviously not the practical stuff, but all the theory stuff. And then some practical classes were allowed, and Korea has been relatively, until recently, quite mildly hit, I think, in the beginning. It's jumped recently when they reduced restrictions and this kind of stuff. But, for us, it was business as usual. Nothing really changed. They limited the amount of people that could go to restaurants. And, you had to wear a mask. So I've been wearing a mask now for 2.5 years, every day, all day. So it's nice to come home and be able to breathe. But, other than that, restaurants have stayed open, cafes have stayed open. And I think we're quite fortunate here in Korea because food delivery systems are incredible. And if it's shopping or just takeout or whatever, I mean, there's thousands of scooters that drive around delivering food all day, any time. If I really want to, I can order coffee from the coffee shop across the street, and they'll deliver it to me.
Wow.
It's a bit unnecessary. I could just walk over there and probably get it quicker. But if I want to, then I could. And I think, overall, it's been quite a mild COVID compared to other places. We've never had like a lockdown where you're not allowed out or anything like that. It's always been, if you're going out, please be responsible. And I think that's worked quite well.
Okay, that's interesting. So your students weren't, completely adversely affected because you just went online.
Well, for them, like Korea is a little bit, the students want to come to the university. They want to come to the school because of the camaraderie and the friendship and everything else. And a lot of them, they don't live in the area of the university. So they all live, they get, student accommodation, and then they go home for the weekends to see mom and dad. And now they had to stay with mom and dad, and that was not popular.
That makes sense.
So there's been some issues with the student unions and that kind of stuff in terms of, we haven't had the full university experience or whatever. And it's like, but that's no fault of ours, that's the way it works. And you still get your qualification. So it's not an issue. It's been different, but it's been okay. It's been not too bad.
Not too bad. That's interesting. And Vishal, from your perspective, with your businesses, was there an impact at all? How did you manage to carry on?
It was awesome, actually. It sounds horrible, and I'm horrible. I feel crap to say it, but it was the best thing ever because, number one, it accelerated the whole conversation around digitization and around the topic of digitization. And the reason why I say that is everyone talks about 4IR and digital transformation. And then I'm using this analogy because we're all adults. It's like when we were in primary school in class 2, everyone heard the word sex, but no one knew what it was. That's what my view is about the industry now. Because digitization is now sending an email, and that's what it is in its layman's term or form.
Yeah.
So for me, it accelerated our dialysis business because, number one, it became dependent on foreign imports. And that's what helped me now set up localized and also assist a needing chronic disease in South Africa or on the continent where they weren't getting serviced. On the IT side, it accelerated us actually creating platforms and create automation, but also not replacing people, but just improving processes and so on. And that's where that Connectifizer business we launched was similar to what Henrik's talking about. Is we basically put together retailers and brands. And because of COVID, consumers, you and I and everyone else actually ended up having a voice collectively saying retailers are ripping us off, whether we like it or not. And sorry for anyone that comes from the retail environment. The true profiteers that should be it is the manufacturers, the OEMs. And what we did was we basically said, let's put together a business model where the brands or the OEMs have direct contact with first-party data owners, which is you and I. So instead of being the Amazon, which basically attracts that first-party data and still dictates to the brands and leverages of it, we discontinued the entire middleware, you could say, and now we go directly to first-party data owners and provide the same pricing that Checkers or ShopRite or the retailers get to the end consumer. So there's more value for wallet in that.
Okay.
So we piloted that last year, and now we've got about 2 million individual consumers on the platform in South Africa, and we're launching in SADC next month as well. So it's just disrupting it, because first-party data, there's no regulation around Poppy. So as an example, if I'm Transnet and I got 60,000 employees, my pitch to them was simple. 60,000 employees spend 2,000 Rand on something or stuff a month. What if you could give it to them at $1,500 and you keep the other 200 Rand as yours so-called wellness program to actually facilitate this monthly? It's the same product basket. It's just that now it's reduced by at least 30-40%.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's no transfer of data. So no one sees that consumer. That consumer is just a persona. So saying male, female, living in Kempton between 30 and 40 years old in this income bracket. That's it. So everything is divorced on that, yeah.
That's good. That's clever, yeah.
That's interesting.
Congratulations.
Okay, we've got a question here from Zintle. What was your like and dislike about the MBA journey, and what can you advise on balancing both? So what was your like and your dislike about the MBA journey, and what can you advise on balancing both?
Me, it was the Saturday classes. I disliked that with a passion.
Oh, definitely.
And the worst was a Saturday class in the afternoon session.
Oh,
exactly. That was my biggest dislike. But I know shit happens. Sorry, guys. I speak a lot of colorful language. And it's just about managing it in advance. If I knew when it was in our calendars in advance, I just made sure it's again family time in the morning, afternoon you had class. But when it was a spur of the moment because of some issues, yeah, I didn't like that. What I did love was the flexibility. I think the team was flexible, the evening classes, and the lectures were very helpful. For me personally, every single one of the lectures on the different programs or subjects helped me in some form with either corporate, my day job, or my side hustle in shaping the ideas. That's what I loved a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I think for me also, what I liked was the discussions. It's not often that you get to have that kind of a discussion, like a business type discussion or a discussion about current events or whatever, with the people that you work with, obviously depending on where you work. And at the same time, the dislikes, yes, the evening classes were really hard. Especially on, like you said, Saturdays or some days it was just you had a rough day at work and then you had to go to class in the evening. It wasn't something that you wanted to do. But at the end of the day, it's like working a long day. It's terrible when you're doing it, but once it's over and done with, it's done. So I would say just prepare yourself that it's going to be hard. That would be my advice to you. It's going to be hard, but it's also going to be very rewarding. So if you look at it like it's I'm going to learn something different, I'm going to learn something new, maybe get a bit of a mind shift in terms of how things are done and what can be done, then I think it'll be all right. So yeah,
I have to agree with Henrik on that one. It's the way I got around it was to say, what's you going to get out of it, the investment, and what's the reward. It's like going to gym. People go to gym and they suck at it during the day because they're not looking at it at the end saying, if I am consistent, I am going to look like Hulk Hogan or Shani. But if you don't have that desire, then you're not going to put in the graft. And exactly what Henrik said, if you look at it as a long day, you don't focus on the hours, you focus on the outcome. Then it changes, it switches your mindset straight away. It encourages, like I hated reading our textbooks. And once you switch that on, you end up saying, hey, this is a means to an end. So the quicker you do it, the quicker you finish it, it's easier. So it's less painful on yourself. And that helped.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah. And, when you think about signing up for 2 years or 3 years of study, it sounds like a long time. 3 years is a long time.
It goes by.
No, it goes by quick.
But
think of it. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, think of it as a job. I mean, if you work in the same job for 3 years, yeah, okay, it's your job, it's something that you do. Or even if you go to school, any, primary school or whatever, you still had to do it to get to where you are today. So, or like Vishal says, going to the gym, you're not going to see results after a 30 or 40-minute session. You're going to see results after a few months or a few years even. So it's that's the way to look at it. You don't understand a movie by watching the first 5 minutes. You have to sit through the whole thing.
Yep, indeed.
Exactly.
And for those people who say, I don't have time, just the last thing, because a lot of people have said, yeah, I'd love to do it. I just don't have time now. I'll do it next year.
You won't have time next year either, so there's no point. Then you're looking at it completely the wrong way around. I don't believe that you do have time. I find very, very few people. I don't think I've ever met anyone who doesn't have time. Granted, some people are a lot busier than others, but like the one thing I did learn or have learned over the years is the busier I get, the more I can do. If it's easier to give a busy person more to do than to give someone who's lazy something to do. And I found that the busier I get, the more I'm able to do, and the quicker and more efficient I become. And I don't know what it is, but it just works. And I think most people are generally like that. You can you'll surprise yourself by how much you can actually do. I've seen now during COVID when we haven't had that much to do, and it's like, okay, well, I'll come home, I'll watch some TV, and then all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh, wait, I have to get up for work in the morning. And it's like, but where did the time go? And it's like, well, my wife's like, it's, you spent 4 hours watching TV and you said you were busy. It's like, well, I was, but not working.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, there will be time. It'll be times where it'll be really tough and you'll, get less sleep and you'll have to work more and all those things. But at the same time, it depends on how you set your day up. And I think this is where, a little bit of time management goes a long way.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Vishal, do you have any comments on that? Yeah?
No, I agree with Henrik. In terms of time, you have to make some sort of sacrifices, albeit playing golf with the friends, watching TV. And the best analogy I gave one of my mates that wanted to do his MBA is I said, so what series are you watching now? And he said, nice, watch 3 complete series on Netflix in a month. I said, well, that alone is about 80 hours. Yeah. I said, you don't even need 80 hours for your MBA a month. But if you're putting that amount, watching a TV show, getting nothing out of it. And back to Henrik's point, time management, I'm very linear. So for me, everything must be, it's run like a project. So it's literally time after time. So because you always know that time is money. So I always view my life as a doctor surgery. So and then in consulting, every hour adds up. So if you don't get benefit out of it, it's time exchange for something. So I said, break it down to that. So 8 hours sleep, do you actually need it or do you need 6? And don't use time sitting on phone, playing games. You could either read, do an assignment. It's just that sort of military mindset for 2 years and you're comfortable. So it's again, how you just switch it on and how you view it in yourself personally of what's your gain for just being so-called in commando mode for the next 2 years. And it helps a lot because also your family realizes around you that, hey, we're actually not doing anything with our time. So I make sure if we go out, it's not sitting in a restaurant and my wife's on a phone, I'm on my phone, my daughter's on her phone. It forces you to actually have meaningful encounters.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, people spend hours scrolling through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and whatever else. And it's like, well, instead of doing that, why don't you read the article or get your book on a PDF and read it while you're, I don't know, in the bathroom or while you're, on the bus or whatever, you can read it there. So there's plenty of opportunities to read the material that you're given. You just need to find it.
That's
exactly. And I think that's it comes down to your priorities,
Yeah.
What are you going to prioritize?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm great at doing nothing. I mean, I can delay. What's the word? I can
After
delay
your
or
MBA,
I can
you love
procrastinate.
doing nothing. Yeah. After your MBA, you'd love to do nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm great at procrastinating, but at the same time, if I put my mind to it, then work comes first, and I need to make sure that I do it. And it was like, like we said in the beginning, you need to speak to your family. And I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to do this. And she's like, oh, great idea. And I was like, but it's a lot of work. And she's like, it's okay, you can do it, and we'll leave you alone, and you can study and do what you need to. Luckily, my kids were a lot younger, and they went to bed earlier, and my wife watched TV, and I did my work, and it worked out in the end. So yeah, I think just time management and thinking about what needs to be done. And then, like we said earlier, where, finish the assignments and get them in before they need to be, in case something happens.
Yeah. I see Sean has put here, procrastination is a huge problem. And it is.
Yeah.
So
We all have it, even the successful ones. Everyone has it.
Yeah.
And it's and I think it's made 100 times worse with the cell phone that can have anything. There's YouTube and there's everything, and I'm just going to watch this, and it's like, before you know it, you've been sitting there for 20 minutes staring at cats.
Exactly.
It's like there's more to life than cats, I promise you. Yeah. So it just takes some planning.
Yeah. Thank you both so much for your insights. I see. I think you've given really good advice to people who are thinking about embarking on the journey. I see Cindy says here, it always looks like an uphill until you walk it, and I think that is true. You've both done that. It's worth the investment in yourself, I think. And I think both of you can attest to you've done so much good. You've made a difference in people's lives. You're moving around, globally, locally, on the continent. So I'd really like to thank you both so much. Hopefully we'll keep chatting to you. So if people have got more questions, please, if you want us to ask either one, Henrik or Vishal, to answer anything for you, we can relay some questions if you have any more. But I think from our perspective, just to say, don't wait. I think both of you would agree. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Do it now, because otherwise you're never going to do it. And make that commitment and just get it done as soon as possible, so that you can make sure that you are that you're defining what you want to be in life, what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve it, and to make a difference in society, which I think is the reason that we're on the planet, to do good and to make good. So I'd like to thank everybody so much for being here, for the questions that you have raised. I hope I've answered some of them in the ask a question thing. But please contact us, and we can tell you exactly what's in the program, how it works, and then you can make the decision on can you make the commitment to do this. And we're hoping that you can. Thank you so much, Henrik and Vishal. We really appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
All the best to everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.